Hey traders, this is Cousin Vinny coming to you on Tuesday the 3rd, January 2012, back from our vacation. So I was going to put together a quick video of my thoughts. The last couple of days I've had to improvise with my iPad, so I apologize for needing to cut and paste. I haven't figured out how to insert a image from my iPad yet. So if any of you know how to do that, let me know, because it won't look at, well, what's essentially your hard drive. It won't look at the iPad the same way, so I have to figure out how to work that. Anyway, we have been looking at this same chart basically since May, okay, or excuse me, since the summer, where we broke down from these highs here and failed, okay, and came down to these lower levels at the 1060 area. I just drew this in today because I'm looking at this bigger range as well as this trend line that we broke above, traded back down and tested on Thursday last week, and we consolidated in this small range, and I made a comment on the charts that we didn't move down very much. So my thoughts were that we would put in a similar range here, okay, and maybe get some kind of move like so, okay, which would coincide with the 1618 extension. All right, we hit the 127 extension, and note from these highs here down to these lows that we also have a confluence level at the 786 from this bigger move down, all right, to this low here in October. Alright, and obviously we traded back up October 27th, and we put in this pivot here where we established this nice descending trend line, which turned out to be basically a symmetrical triangle, depending on how you're looking at it. We also looked at it as a channel, right, where we're looking at these lows here and this low, okay. But I also saw this high up here and connected these pivots to look at a possibility of a move up, which is where this came from, okay. So obviously this is a little bit above this 1618 extension, but it's something that I'm looking at. I don't expect we're going to get above this level because we tested this confluence level and we traded down today, all right. So I fully expect that maybe even overnight we could come down and test this 1265 area, you know, which is where we broke out of this high right here. All right. There's always a possibility that we've hit a high, this recent high over here as well, and we're rejected. Okay, in which case I'm sure Nathan would be very happy. All right. But the news being the caveat, it could go either way. So I'm currently flat. I do have the IWM trade still on. I sold the 74 puts, and I have a very large position in my 401k. All right, at the 73.25 area, I bought a pretty large amount of shares. All right, to trade against that premium. So anyway, that's the ES, and what I'm thinking about for tomorrow is either a move back down to 1265. It may happen overnight, in which case we could see some candles build here and maybe build back up, and then see a move back up into the up to the 127 extension. or the 1618 extension off of this level. Alright, so a measured move off of this. We could, like I said, move down and come back down to this trend line, or even this one here, okay, this descending trend line at the 1238 area, because we do have a fib there, so keep that in mind. Alright, so with the SPY we had the gap up. We're going to have to fill that at some point, so let's take a look at that chart. Alright, so this is the spiders daily, and we have that same trend line that we have on the ES. We have this large gap now. We filled the other gaps that we had previously, where people in the room were mentioning, well, we got to fill this gap, fill that gap. We had some on the 60 minutes, so those are gaps that we filled on this way back up. Right, so we're more than likely going to have to fill this level. Doesn't mean we have to do it today or tomorrow, but that's something I'm looking at. Alright, I may look at this on free stock charts. Give me a sec. We can see we're trading at 1271 area after hours using Johnny's chart at Day Trading Radio. By the way, if you aren't already a member, you can come check it out for a 2-week free trial. Alright, and come see us and meet some of the traders in the room. If you like to trade ES, you can do that. And if you like to trade swings, we have a number of traders among Johnny and others that trade other positions as well. Lately I've been liking to trade the spiders because they give me a good bang for the buck using the options. Okay, so these are the spiders, and this is the way I left it before I went on vacation. Now we had these ranges, alright, that we have since, or continuing I should say, to trade inside of. Note that this is a 200 period moving average right here. Let me get rid of this. So you can see that we gapped above that level. The Bollinger Bands are saying that there's a possibility these could expand. But remember, the rule is with a flat 200 MA that you trade the upper and lower Bollinger Bands. So with this embedded, there's always that possibility we could roll over, like I was saying, on the ES and go down to the 382 and come back down with the spiders and fill this gap here. Let's take a look at the 60 minute. And you can see that gap here. We have a gap here. Alright, so keep those in mind. Going back to the daily, remember prior to leaving, I mentioned that I learned this from GTO, that you can look at these volume bars, volume at price, which is these green and red lines over here. This is the accumulated volume that occurs at this level. Alright, and once you move above that level, it tends to create a vacuum, something that you can trade into with less resistance. Alright, so I'm looking at this with the mindset that we're above this level, and a good possibility that there's less resistance, that we can move higher than lower, because this will actually act as support now. Right, this level here, which would fill that gap, and we're not too far away from these shorter term period moving averages. Alright, the 20's down here too, so we got some decent support down here, and we got the Bollinger Bands working somewhat against us, as well as the Stochastics, so keep that in mind with regard to any trades that you might take. I mentioned the Russell. I have a pretty big position in this ETF. Alright, we're right at the 200 period and trading right below it. We tested it. We have this upper Bollinger Band we're dealing with, and we are starting to embed, and the MAs are all down below us as well. So this could possibly turn over, though note the volume at price here, which will tend to act as some support here. Move above that, this could tend to give us a vacuum effect. Note when you zoom further out, you can see the more that accumulated volume is below us. So this could get a move on, all right, to the upside. Okay, going back to my ninja charts, let's take a look at the copper NYMEX. All right, and you can see this is giving us a very bullish signal for equities. All right, when copper is moving higher, I've said this many times, but it's used in just about everything in the industrial and construction sector. So it's an indicator that copper futures are starting to move back higher, which is bullish for equities. Okay, so keep that in mind going forward, that we do have some green lights on these charts. All right, so place your trades accordingly and don't be foolish. Let's also look at the euro. Alright, I haven't even looked at this yet, but I gotta believe this chart looked pretty good. I mentioned last night in my post that we looked like we hit a bottom for the time being. Doesn't mean we can't turn back over, but we have the bullish case on the copper futures. We have this trend line, this descending trend line that's been broken now to the upside. We have this low. We have a lot of things working in our favor. Right, we have this low back here in what was that, 2010? That's this low right here. That's January 10th, 2011. All right, so that low right there, you have to keep that in mind. All right. So that's a pretty big structural support area. And I would say that this is we have a good shot at moving a bit higher, which will bode good for equities as well. All right. The crude futures, now we can see we got a pretty bullish move on that. Crude has been pretty much positively correlated with equities, so whenever crude moves higher, you can expect equities to do the same. All right. So we have this trendline resistance, but I'd be looking for this to move higher. So, alright, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from Day Trading Radio with my thoughts on the ES and the remainder of the week. Basically, that we could see a little bit of a move lower, but I'm thinking we are going to go higher. Alright, so keep in mind the 382 level, the confluence level that I was talking about. If we can get back through that level tomorrow, we can have that measured move and see a move up to the 618, the 1618 extension. Okay, maybe even this upper trend line. All right, and eventually these higher highs. So keep that in mind. Remember to use your stops, and we'll see you in the room. Remember to take that 2-week free trial if you haven't already thought about it.